Hi, guys, and welcome to the Camp YA live stream. Today, I'm joined by two lovely authors in the New Horizons panel. This is a panel that we do every year. We try to focus on a new country and invite authors from a new country every year. And this year, our guest of honor is Ukraine. For many obvious reasons, but also because the publishing industry is shifting a lot in Ukraine. Different things are happening. And it's an interesting topic. And we are very happy today to have these two very popular Ukrainian YA authors with us. Well, they write fantasy as well, but also YA. If you could both please introduce yourself and tell us where you're currently living, first of all, and just a little bit about your latest book. So we'll start with Natalia.
Hi, nice to meet you. Greetings from Lviv city, my favorite city in Ukraine, obviously. So I am Natalia Matolinets. We have a pretty sunny day in Lviv today, and I work mainly with fantasy, young adult or new adult fantasy, inspired both by urban locations, so I like urban fantasy, or mythological fantasy, also inspired by myths of different countries and bringing a bit of European heritage back to life in Ukraine.
Okay, that's very exciting. And Anastasiia, you?
Hi everyone, I'm so happy to take part in this great festival. I'm also from Lviv. I was born here and I'm still living here, and I also have the greatest love for this city. I'm also a Ukrainian writer, book reviewer, Instablogger, and copywriter. I'm writing texts for different websites as my major work. I love writing in different genres and for different time ages. And my first novel was written in 2013, but it took for me 3 years until this novel won the first prize in the literary context named The Coronation of the World. It's Ukrainian international contest. And it also, the name of this novel is The Snowstorm, and you can see the book cover of it on our poster.
Yeah, and you're both contest winners from what I've read, so you both have won awards. When I was trying to source writers, I turned to, I've been to Lviv. I've done book signings in Lviv. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a gorgeous city not too far from Poland in Ukraine. Correct me if I say anything wrong. It is a city obsessed with coffee, absolutely obsessed, coffee on every corner. And it has very fairy tale-esque aesthetics to it. So everyone should definitely visit if they get the opportunity. At some point, it's a very good city for books, coffee, and writing, I would say. So you've told us a little bit about the genres in which you write. We know that you write YA. You were both heavily recommended by book bloggers. So when I was sourcing writers, I was like, I should just ask book bloggers because they know what's happening. And both of your names, both of your names came up from a few Ukrainian book bloggers. So it's like, these are our guests, obviously, because if a name comes up more than once. So with that said, you're both in Lviv. What does a typical writing day look like for both of you? Anastasiia.
Okay. When you are living in the country that is now under attack of your neighbor Russia, then you can't have any plans for your tomorrow. Like it was the day before yesterday, you can get up from the air alarm and realize that rockets and bombs are just flying to your city, to different cities of Ukraine. So you can't plan anything. And I'm so happy that today we have not only nice weather, but no air alarm, and we have internet connection. We have electricity to connect with you and have this nice conversation. My basic day is connected with my work. With my first work, it's copywriting, so I have to do my tasks, my text for the websites. The second is always my book, and also hobbies, books which I love to read, my blog, of course, and cycling and dancing for today. Also, I had not so much time for my volunteer center as I did during few months of the invasion. But today I have lots of work, but I can do donuts. It's also a great part of work.
Okay, yeah, it's important to know, I think, because our Western media very much focuses on the South, and I think in a lot of our heads we don't imagine sort of Kiev and Lviv having, you know, the air sirens every day and stuff. I know that because of my friends, and they tell me this. But even halfway through it, because all the news is always obviously this chunk of the maps. So I think a lot of people are not aware that everyday life in Lvov is also impacted in that way. And I have seen your dancing videos. I really enjoy them. It's made me want to get back into dancing. And Natalie, what does a kind of a good working day look like for you? Do you spend a lot of time at the computer, a little time at the computer? What does it look like?
Actually, as you mentioned, Lviv is obsessed with coffee. We got this from Austro-Hungarian times, and Viennese coffee culture is thriving now. So I'm obsessed with coffee too. I usually go somewhere to have coffee and write, to switch from my I have a journalist work, but like a freelance work. So now I mostly work on my texts and my novels, some international projects also. So I usually grab coffee somewhere and go to type. But about Lviv reality, actually, one of the places I often go to work. Last week it was very damaged, and I felt like very bitter, because when yesterday you had coffee there, and today like building is just crashed and all windows are broken, and neighboring building was half destroyed. So this is the reality. You try to stick to good things. You try to have coffee, make your research about history. You try to dive into your stories, but still, along with this, even on the good days, you are surrounded with this evidence of what is going on. So if somebody says to you, Lviv is fine, Lviv is safe, please don't believe them. There are no safe places in Ukraine. I was telling about
I think
UK, but it turned out to be a bit sad.
yeah, no, but it's the reality. It's important people understand that. I actually, my therapist lives in Kiev, and I think that for a long time I didn't understand what the day looks like until, you know, she would be like, I can't talk now, there's no internet, but in an hour there will be internet, or, you know, there's no power, or the air siren's on right now, so let's move our meeting down and stuff like that. So then you start to understand the daily impact. Because, like I said, Western, obviously, UK media does focus a lot on the South. That's what we're reading about every day, the southern city. So it's good to, you know, talk about what it feels like for the other cities as well, because they're also heavily impacted. So what are places in Ukraine? Obviously, right now, you know, probably not a lot of people, probably tourism has, you know, taken a dive, but what are places in Ukraine that you think would inspire people to write or inspire you to write? I definitely put Lviv and Kiev on people's must visit list. I've been there, I think 5 times I've been to Kiev. And it's a really cool city. So, as if you guys have traveled all around Ukraine, what do you think are quite inspiring places visually to write about?
Think of course, Lviv, I can't not agree with you because it's my beloved city. I was born here. I would also name Uzhhorod with its cherry blossoms, Ternopil with this great lake in the center of the city. The water is the one missing thing that we don't have in Lviv, because our water is underground. Our river Poltava is underground. Also, I would like to name Kherson region, because it has so nice pink rivers and pink lakes. It was beautiful. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I visited it by myself, and it was an amazing, just amazing place. I wish that our whole for today, Kherson is ours, it is Ukrainian, but not all the region of Kherson is under our Ukrainian power. And Crimea is just like a legend from my childhood, because I used to go there every year with my mom and dad. Every year we were going there without hotel, without anything, just looking for a little flat with one room. And we have the sea, we have legends, because the first thing that I did every time, wherever we were, I go to the bookshop or to the book or to the places where I can find any book. I took a book about Crimea legends, and it was my favorite book for this period of time when I was there.
Yeah. And I think one of you has used uh, Slavic folklore in your books. Is that you, Anastasia? That so you have Slavic inspired themes in your books. Sorry, Natalie, what do you think are the most inspiring places in Ukraine from a literary perspective?
Who has a book about Lviv and magic, we'll start showing some books, and here is a map. So you can see beautiful trams. And
love a book with a map.
Yeah, everybody loves maps. So of course, I also recommend Lviv, and I think it depends on the type of book you want to write, because we have a lot of legends, and I personally write about urban locations, but also we have mountains with a lot of cultural details, with a lot of heritage, and it can be a powerful source for writing both fantasy or some, I don't know, detective stories. Or I think this is just a very inspiring place. And also, I would love to mention Chernivtsi. Chernivtsi is a small regional city. It's close to Romania border, and it also has a lot of Austro-Hungarian heritage. So it's very beautiful architecturally, and they have the university, which looks like, I don't know, Ukrainian Hogwarts, like Chernivtsi University. You never expect to find something so majestic there. So if we will be filming some, I don't know, some Ukrainian fantasy about magical school, it will be in Chernivtsi, definitely, 100%. But also, I think I'd recommend to, before choosing the location, probably dive also into history, because Ukraine is like very complicated place. It's a borderland. It was always a borderland, and it has a lot of complex details you need to work with, even when, I don't know, even if I am a part of this context, when I write something adventurous and magical, still historical research is hella long, but I just love it, and I want to have more books about Ukraine with Ukrainian locations, and I hope that after we win, we will have a lot of authors interested in giving Ukrainian locations in their books. So that's the plan.
Yeah, which is why I asked the question, because of course I understand it can sound naive, like which places do you recommend people visit? You know, not now, unfortunately, but I think what I've noticed with the Ukrainian people is a lot of hope and a lot of perseverance, and so I think it's important that people still talk about a place outside of it being, you know, its current history. So like think about take an interest in the before, support the documentaries, you know, take an interest in the place, and obviously visit it hopefully once, as you said, once everything is over. So I definitely loved my time there, and I can't wait to go back. So which other countries, now outside of your borders, which other countries inspire you? Where would you like to visit, and where would you like to set something? So maybe you can't give away the location of your next book, maybe it's a secret for now, but what sort of places inspire you, and where would you like to go? We'll start with Natalia.
Okay.
Because I pointed to it, yeah. So this is my wall of magnets. I have another one in another room. So I am keen on traveling, and actually it's one of my biggest inspirations, because I think that it's crucial important to be open to the world, and accessible traveling for Ukrainians changed my life a lot, because going somewhere, meeting people, meeting local culture, and discovering heritage, so much inspiration. And basically, so maybe I will also show some books, because like I showed you, I have a book about Lviv. So it's a part of a trilogy, because the second one takes us to Prague, and the third one takes us to Budapest and Vienna and Strasbourg. Nice. So, well, my travels inspire my writing a lot. And for me, I love to travel where I then send my characters. So when I write a lot of urban fantasy about Central and Eastern European locations, I love to go there. And like this autumn, I go to UNESCO City of Literature residence in Prague, so I can explore the city more and dive into the history more. And I'm so excited. But also, I fell in love with Amsterdam. Never sent my characters there yet. But this was very cool experience, and I mean, like, I feel very sad that we don't have flights from Ukraine right now, and I try not to complain about this because, when people lost homes, when people were displaced, when people lost everything they have, it's kind of rude to complain that, oh, I can't fly to have another adventure. But as a passionate traveler, I feel like this impact on my life, it's something that limits me now and makes me feel like, oh.
Yeah. So you travel with trains, right? From what I saw recently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I went to the international project in Bulgaria lately, and Bulgaria, it's not so far, but I had to take train to Poland. Then our train from Ukraine was late because of, the situation. Then I missed my connection. Then I had to change a few more trains. Then I had to stay overnight in Poland, and then I had my flight. So this is my funny story of traveling right now as a Ukrainian youth stopper.
But Poland doesn't yet feature in your work. Poland
Well,
isn't in your books yet.
it will be a little spoiler because after this urban fantasy trilogy with Lviv, Prague, and Budapest, I work with this setting more, but I work with it during Austro-Hungarian time because Belle Epoque is a period I like to explore very much. And I want to revive a lot of historical memories because there are some stereotypes about Ukraine in this time. So I want to give readers new adventure with a lot of magic and legends, but also to fight some harmful stereotypes. And so Poland will be there, definitely working on it, but it's like exclusive spoilers.
Got it. And Anastasiia, what places would you like to visit? What places would you like to set some of your work in?
When my career of the writer started, I had a list of genres and type of books which I would like to write about. And one of these topics was the travel book about traveling. I did it with my co-author. He's my best friend, Oleg Bakulin, and he is now in the army defending us. So he's now not just a writer, and he can't write as much as I wish and as he wish, but he's doing a great job. And we had the story about Ukraine, about a boy who visited lots of cities of the Ukraine. He just traveled all over Ukraine, made a great circle from Lviv to Kyiv, to Kharkiv, to Odessa, and then came back to Lviv. And I would like to make this setting in foreign countries also. I have a list of countries and countries of inspiration. It's beautiful places in New Zealand and Norway. I would like to visit these countries. It's also England because one of my favorite books from the childhood was English fairy tales and named based on English mythology and legends. So I love it so much, and I would like to visit all the places that I wished in the childhood. And I also love such countries like Japan because I'm fond of anime. I love it so much. And South Korea. I love their culture. And I used to dance K-pop.
Yeah.
It's Korean pop
cool.
dancing. And I love it also.
Yeah, I was just there a few weeks ago in Japan and in Korea, and I could see the you can see the nighttime K-pop practices, like the wings where people are doing it. And I really wanted to go, but I had my baby, and also everyone was so good that I was like, I don't know, maybe a different time because it was just all like perfect, you know.
Yeah.
But that's so Norway, Korea, and Japan sit pretty highly on your list. That's very cool. So moving on from that, if you both had to plan the absolute perfect dream book tour around the world, so someone is like, let's go 5 cities, what would your 5 city book tour be? And we'll start with Anastasiia on this one.
Okay. London, Queenstown, Kyoto, Seoul, Miami, and
Okay.
Elephant.
Adding a sixth one there, but wait,
Yeah.
what was the last one?
Elephant. Elephant, it's in Norway.
Okay, yeah, got it. Okay, and so that's quite
Elephant?
that's a lot of
Am
flying.
I right? Maybe I have the wrong pronunciation.
No,
Sorry.
I'm not. I mean, I don't think I'm well versed on Norway anyway. I just know Oslo and maybe like a couple more cities, but I will look Alison up. And you, Natalia, where would you be going on the perfect book tour?
So Anastasia was prepared for this one, but I think that perfect tour will be to the cities or to the countries where I will have translations, because
Yeah.
obviously having a tour with a book when you can present it to local readers will work the best. And actually, I bring this topic up because for Ukrainian fantasy writer, getting translation is pretty tough thing. So it's like something to dream about, something to work on, and yeah. So I think that my future tours will rely on my future publishers.
Yes, that's for sure.
But
But
I
do you
will
have
stop.
a specific city? Do you have a specific festival that you've ever seen where you're like, yes, that's for me it's I forgot, now I'm blanking on the name, but New York has a giant book expo, and so that's kind of on my like bucket list. Like that is the book fair that I would like to go to. Do you have a book fair like that you're like, okay, that's on the list? I lost you for a second. Sorry,
It was
Natalia.
London. It was London. I mean,
It's
like
London. Yeah.
growing up reading a lot of fantasy about Victorian London, and like this is a dream to go somewhere, to go there sometime, and to be a part of a festival. Like we are now a part of a festival, but going there and being a part of a festival, it's like, yeah, the next step. It's on the list.
A different experience. Yeah. Yeah, does the topic of self-publishing translations come up a lot more recently in writer circles in Ukraine? Because I have a lot of foreign friends from other countries where with the introduction of self-publishing, and I'm self-published for a large part of my work, trans people are now starting to take translation into their own hands. Are you seeing that in your industry? I'll start with Anastasiia on this one.
Yes, I saw there, but I saw not good examples.
Okay.
Natalie can agree with me. We saw lots of Ukrainian writers who used to write in Russian language and used to send their books in Russia after 2014, after the first invasion of Russia, and they continued doing that. And their goal was that there are lots of beautiful people in Russia and they're readers and they should do it, and Russian in their language, they can write only in it. But we can also see that some of them, after the invasion in 2022, they started to work in Ukrainian, then they translated their blog in Ukrainian, and they just cut all the conversation with Russian people. And I think it's a nice step. Also, of course, we wished that it was earlier, much earlier, but it's better to do it today and not in future. So we had this examples.
Yeah, we will talk about this, but I was asking about whether more Ukrainian writers are becoming interested in translating into English themselves because of self-publishing. So, for example, if someone writes urban fantasy, it's now possible to get that translated and to just go into the English market right away. So I was asking if self-publishing has changed the way people see entering the English market. But we will, in a second, discuss the industry and the Russian versus Ukrainian language print, because that's quite an interesting topic as well. So I'll ask Natalie, do you feel that Ukrainian writers are seeing more opportunities to translate their own work into English, or it's still quite a rare thing?
Well, I think that self-publishing is not very popular in Ukraine because, like, of course, there are a lot of people who self-publish, but usually it's like a first step to get to a traditional publisher, and having like a good sales of a self-published book, you can only have this if you are a famous blogger. We have some of these, but not very much. So things that people see self-publishing or making translations and go somewhere by themselves like an opportunity right now. But on the other hand, I can definitely see that world market and the world literary market is more interested in Ukrainian books right now. Of course, there are a lot of translations, but mostly it's something connected to war topics, a lot of poetry also. And I think one of the hard part is like, for example, I had like the first translation a while ago. Okay, that moment to show a book. Yeah, it's a Czech translation. And the thing is that when I sent, when I was discussing with my Czech editor, so the first question was, do you have your books in English? And I was like, no, because it's hard to find a person who can read a book in Ukrainian and review it for a publisher abroad. And it's just one small step, but it's like a step not all editors abroad want to take, because like, why try to do this? But now with a lot more interest about Ukrainian writing, about Ukrainian book, it changes. And I think also that as I see on the fantasy market abroad, on the Western for me, yes, Western from Ukraine fantasy market, as I see that a lot more people are interested in some different locations and different experience. They are interested in small mythologies or in urban mythologies, in going somewhere reading about, I don't know, Asia, Latin America, Africa, different experience and different background. So I think this will also empower Ukrainian writers to speak about our experience. And this will also be a step ahead for us, more opportunities, because we are the only one who can speak about our experience. And we would like to do this instead of, I don't know, somewhere from the outside.
Yeah. So going back to what Anastasiia was talking about, because I think that probably our watcher, our audience doesn't quite understand the nuances of it. So I'll explain a little bit from my own experience, because I have a book. I've also brought a book, my book in Ukrainian. But it's a very specific market where, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but 10 years ago, Russian publishers sort of dominated over Ukrainian distribution chains, right? As I understand. So Russian publishers would buy rights for certain books from the West, and then they would publish that in the Russian language into Ukraine. So things like Cassandra Clare and big YA writers would be published via this distribution market, if I understand correctly. So when my book came out, which was quite a while ago, my Ukrainian publisher presented a Russian language version and an Ukrainian language version. The Russian language version was a lot more popular at the time. So, for example, they released the second one only in the Russian-speaking version. However, now, obviously, the market was already shifting. There was more work in Ukrainian, but not as common, I think, about 7 years ago. And now today, I mean, obviously, you guys know all of this, but I'm explaining for our viewers, because I don't think people would be like, why was Anastasiia talking about Russian language books and stuff? But it's because they used to dominate the publishing sector. Now, obviously, they're out of it. And now there is a shift to have all books in Ukrainian, to write in Ukrainian, and to have their own publishers and to have that business develop. And I'm seeing a lot of partnerships and collaborations with Ukrainian publishers. But as you said, a lot of it is focused on war stories and things like this. But I think there's a shift of forming new relationships with emerging Ukrainian publishers because the industry has obviously changed a lot in the last 9 years with everything that has happened. So that's a little bit of background for our viewers to understand what we're talking about across translations and stuff. Did I explain that more or less correctly, Anastasiia?
Yeah, you're right. Our market, literature market, was full of Russian translations, Russian books from Russia. And people used to, people not from all of Ukraine, but eastern part and central part as well. They used 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they have lots of Russian books in their collections, in their home collections. But from the 2014s, people realized that you don't like to have anything that is connected with the language of your enemy, that you can't write, you can't read, you can't speak in Russian. And it was just like not a strict rule. It just came from your heart. You feel it, that you can't do it. And the invasion in 2022, it was just like the big second step for the huge part of Ukrainians who realized this fact that Russian language and Russian culture for today, it's not just your choice of hobby. It's your choice as the part of this country also. Because when you are talking about Russian literature, Russian culture, and when you are talking about it like about something very good, very beautiful, and you are trying to expand it in different countries, it's like the same meaning that your enemy is beautiful, that there are also beautiful Russians, that they also do beautiful things. Oh, really? If there was any war, if really Russia attacked Ukraine, really? It's not true. It can't be true because it has so beautiful literature, so beautiful books, so beautiful culture. Now, these people, these old people that today are from the other side of the front line, our enemies, they all have had their long period of time, long period of life based on their beautiful literature, beautiful culture, and this culture, this language, this literature did nothing for them to realize that war for today is just not a good thing, and you shouldn't do it. So it didn't impact at all on their opinions, on their minds. They are still thinking that they're empire and they wish to have lots of territory, and so that Russian language is the same as the Russian culture, and the Russian culture is the same as Russians. And Russian, it's war, it's enemy. Mm-hmm. We don't have this gray part for today. When you're in Ukraine, you don't feel this gray part, half tones, half backgrounds. You don't feel it. You have only black and white, because when you see destroyed houses, when you see dead people, you can't feel that there is a gray, somebody gray in this country. No.
Right. Yeah. Because as my Ukrainian friend explained to me, in the times of war, you can't afford any, nuances and stuff. It is, you do have it as black and white, which obviously, we can't identify with that because we're not living through that lived experience that you currently have. Only you guys are living through that. Oh God, that was my dog going a little bit crazy over there. So yeah, we've explained a little bit the background. Do you feel that this shift to the Ukrainian language, do you feel that it has been easy for everyone across the board when you look at Ukrainian writers, or is it easier for those who were already writing in Ukrainian? Or is it a pretty easy shift for everyone to do because they grow up speaking Ukrainian anyway? I'll ask Natalie on this one. Has it been easy for everyone, or is it easier for the northern parts than it is for the southern parts to switch into writing literature and prose in Ukrainian?
Well, I think it really has a lot to do with the region, because like me and Anastasia, we are both from Lviv, and Lviv never had Lviv had no ties with Russia, so I never had the idea of writing in Russian in Ukraine. Now, no. But I know that for people from different regions from the East, it have been different. They were under Soviet occupation long more. And this stereotype about, great Russian literature is also alive because great Ukrainian literature was exterminated 100 years ago, and it's going on right now again. And I think that switching language, of course, it's a very hard step, especially when you are a creator, because, writing is something very complex. And I know people who switched from Russian to Ukrainian in their writing. I do know the struggle, actually. I think it's a huge step for people who do this, but also there is important thing to understand that some people, even if they had opportunities to work for Ukrainian market, they decided to work for Russian market just because it's bigger, and who cares? So I think that it really depends of how people think, but like for me, for us, for a lot of Ukrainian writers, it was always obvious thing. You don't work with Russia because they are occupants, because they attacked, because it started a long time ago. But for some people, it was not that obvious. And I think for some people, it was very hard to change the perspective. And I'm genuinely happy to see how many people, how many writers switch and change, and some of them start anew from scratch. They start their career anew. And I think it will do a lot of good for Ukrainian literature and for promoting it. And I must mention the one detail that in Lviv we have a book forum. It's oldest book festival in independent Ukraine, so we both were visiting it since childhood years. And for us, Ukrainian literature in Ukrainian language was always there. Like we saw it all around us from the childhood years. We had a lot of bookstores, like Lviv is called cultural capital of Ukraine. So for us, it was very natural to be surrounded by it, and it was very natural to want to be a part of it. So yeah, I hope that people from different regions, they now will have the same feelings. They now will discover Ukrainian culture, and like I see a good trends there. I see a lot of people waking up and saying like, oh my God, we have a heritage, we have literature, we have art, we want to know about it. So it's good things happening.
Yeah, so kind of reconnecting with one's own culture and stuff. And I think it's important for us to kind of mention to people who aren't familiar with Ukraine that there are so many regions, and Ukraine is so huge, and the lived experience can be different for people both in language and in the background of the city, and what people have experienced can be quite varied and stuff. And I'm sure that's going to make it into people's writing as well in the future. People are going to write about their individual separate living experience, whether they, left last February, whether they're in the north, whether they're in the south. It's a lot of shades of a lot of different experiences. So moving on to slightly more uplifting, Anastasia, I was told by a friend blogger in Kiev that you write about parkour. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I found that very interesting, and I was wondering why parkour, and because I've never really heard of parkour stories, and how did that come about?
I really have lots of hobbies, and parkour was one of them. I did parkour when I was 18, and it was the great period of my life. people, when they know nothing about this type of sport, they can think that tracers, people who do parkour, they are something like hooligans. They are breaking houses, just like doing not good things, and it is nothing when we are comparing them with real tracers. They are very strong people, very cool people with strong philosophy. Any obstacle can be overcome, any of it. And all the obstacles are in our head. When you are doing any trick, because parkour is just a movement when you are overcoming any obstacle you have. It can be house, it can be a car, it can be anything that you can see, and you should overcome it in that way. That is the safest way for you and the quickest way for you. Also, it is very impressive movement, because when you see different tricks, saltos, it looks very beautiful and amazing and extreme also. So I love it. I love its philosophy, and I could write about it from the inside, because I know the slang, I know the words that tracers communicate with each other, and it was very interesting to show it. But when we are talking about books, this book is not about parkour. It's about people who are in love with parkour, because stories of people are much more interesting than just the sport you are in, because you can overcome any period of your life, any demons in your head. It's your everyday competition.
That's very interesting. I think if you pitch to our industry a parkour romance, that would probably do pretty well, because we've had hockey romances, we've had farmer romances, we've had every niche covered. I've not seen parkour covered. I'm sure it is covered somewhere out there in the world of self-publishing, but I think that would do well. Natalie, could you please tell me more about your project, A Jar for Buttons, Rose Jam, and Tips? I know it's coming out in English, if I'm correct, yeah? And it's a cozy, is it a cozy short story? Okay. So I'm in our industry, I'm hearing the words cozy a lot, and people are really gravitating towards these like comfort reads that are like very cozy and stuff. So if you could tell us a little bit more about that and where we could find it potentially when it does come out.
Yep. This is it's very thrilling moment for me, because English project in English. So I was invited by a Canadian fantasy magazine, Tales and Feathers, and they publish mostly Canadian authors, but they also told me that they want to give some space to Ukrainian authors. They want to show our literature. This is a good trends coming our way, and they publish mostly cozy fantasy. So this story is a short story about Lviv, about coffee, and about one special coffee shop and alchemy. Actually, Lviv, as a lot of ancient medieval cities, has a lot of stories connected with alchemy. So we had a multicultural background of the city. We had some communities who were associated with alchemy, or some magical doings. And we even have like a small saying that we have a lot of cobblestone streets. And sometimes if there is the stone missing, people say that actually some local alchemists stole it because they make gold from the cobblestones. And if the cobblestone is very ancient, it's better for the alchemy. So I decided that I need to give a glimpse of this Lviv magic and coffee obsession in a story. And I think that actually maybe during pandemic times and during these like hard depressive moments, many people started searching these comfort stories, and I'm seeing a lot of something connected with cozy tropes. And I also love to send my characters to different coffee shops, and some of my friends make jokes that you can always recognize Natalia's story because there will be cakes and coffee there. So it's not all only like this, but they make the jokes. So yeah, I guess that's why it happened. And actually, this story will come out in 2 weeks from today. So yeah, waiting for it.
Oh, okay. Well, we'd love to share it on our socials and stuff. Yeah, that sounds amazing. I think I am more likely to be in a cafe drinking coffee and eating cake and watching people do parkour outside because I think if I look at a car as an obstacle that I need to surmount, it's going to end very badly for me. I have to have to practice a little bit first. What writing methods do you both follow? We'll start with Anastasiia on this, and that is to say, maybe it's different in Ukraine, but here we are very obsessed with like methods, and writers are always talking about like their methods and maximizing word counts and how they're measuring their word counts. And I'm seeing a lot of writers have like Excel spreadsheets, you know, and oh, for me, like 25 minutes works and 10 minutes break, or today I time myself, or today I use this kind of music, you know. So are you guys also obsessed with counting your words and speeds and outputs? And do you have a system?
Before that year, I wrote a lot. I had lots of ideas, lots of topics, just like flying near my head. I could take anything and write about anything. But during this year, the previous year, I just felt like the writer inside me, she died, because I have nothing to write about. I can feel only pain, only hate, only fear and darkness around me. And I don't want to multiply it because it was in our space, it was flying, and I don't want to increase it. The only thing I could write, it was my diary. The name of this diary is Letters from Banana Street. Why banana? Because we have a shelter in our parking under my house, and we have there banana boxes from the bananas, because they are quite tough to sit on them and sleep on them during air alarms. So the part of this diary was also translated in English and published in Canadian National Post, just to show how the Ukrainian people feel during first months of the invasion. And after that, when I spent the whole year without writing, it was just like I lost the bigger part of myself, because I can't imagine myself without books, without stories. I love reading stories, I love writing stories, talking about stories, everything connected with it. But I could write a book. This book has deadline and short timeline to write it. I will show it also. Mm-hmm. It's my very thin book, The All Clear. It is bilingual book because it is in English and in Ukrainian. So there are pictures and texts in Ukraine and in English. It was like a diary of every Ukrainian who lived there in Ukraine during first month of the full-scale invasion, because we have a great artist, Alexander Grechov, who was drawing every day a little art, a little picture, how we spent this day. And it was very special, very connected to us. And my publishing house, Vivat, which is also Natalie's publishing house, they wished to have this book, and they asked me if I could write these texts. Though I have my diary like a base for it, I did it. And this was my first book that I wrote during this period. After that, my friend, there is a funny story, because my friend who is now in army, my co-author, he sent me a little video. I think that you also saw it, because it's the conversation between Stephen King and Martin. And they were talking about their writing stuff. And Martin asked King, how could you write so many books? I have great half of year. I could write only 3 chapters, but you write 3 books during this time. How could you? And he sent me this video typing that this is the main difference between me and him. And it was very sharp video for me, because before this year I really was like Stephen King. I was writing lots of books because I have 16 books from the 2017s. It's 5 years. The 6th year is coming this year. It is a great amount of books, co-author books, my solo books, and a collection of little stories with different writers. And I started to do it once again. I started to do it like Stephen King does, 2,000 of words every day. I started it a week ago, and I did it. I had the whole week writing 2,000 words. You can write it whenever you like, whatever you like, but you have to do it, and you can't go to sleep until you do it.
Yeah,
That's my
I know how you feel. I co-write with my best friend, and she is 5 times faster than me. And whenever she gives me her like 5,000 words, and then I have like 500 to give back, I'm like, and I don't write well when I'm stressed or upset or overwhelmed or scared or anything. So I had a difficult pregnancy, and I didn't write a single word the entire time. But she writes even faster and better when she's stressed and everything. So her like output just grows and mine shrinks. So I know how you feel. I think everyone, their writing goes up or it goes down depending on how they're feeling and stuff. And different people have different ways of coping. For you, Natalie, do you have systems? Do you care a lot about word counts and how much you put on the page?
Basically, I make jokes that I should count how many cups of coffee have I drunk to finish this book, because I always write with coffee and with music. I like to go outside to some cafe, but I like to be outside, but to listen to my music. And I am not obsessed with counting words, because I know that before, a few years ago, I used to write more. I used to write faster. But for example, now I understand that my work relies on research a lot. For example, I can spend whole day when I just research train routes 100 years ago, and I research how streets were called. I read a lot about the urban environment in a location I need. So this is basically work on my manuscript, but it's not writing. But I understand that this is how it works for me. So I try not to scold myself for being slow, because I understand that sometimes you just sit and type, and sometimes you just read. Sometimes you just lay down, listen to a song, and you catch a moment in this song, and this sounds like the story I need to take out from the lyrics. I need this moment. And I also try to give myself some deadlines. It not always work for me, and my editors, I work with a few publishing houses. My editors, they usually understand me because I'm an emotional person, and I can say like, you know what, not this time. I need to move this deadline so I can give myself more space to, reflect on what I've done. And I think that, of course, war had a great impact on my writing. It made me stop, it made me lose connection with my writing, because when you see from your window, basically, like a explosion, and you read what's going on, and you read about people losing their lives, you sit there and like, what my books can do, why do I need to go on? But basically, readers brought me back to life, because readers were typing me messages like, I'm in a shelter, I read your book, so if I survive, I need the second book of the series, so you go and write. And it's like Ukrainians use a lot of dark humor now, because it helps us to cope with what's going on. So basically, my readers got me back to writing, and now I'm trying to move a bit faster, do a bit more, but still like it's a slow progress with a lot of coffee.
Okay, well, I wish you a lot of luck with that and with the word counts. I think definitely don't forget that you both are contributing immensely in your own way because people need stories and they need um, to have somewhere to escape to and to get away to. So I think as writers, you guys do contribute a lot. So don't forget that. We're going to move on to some quick fire questions before we say our goodbyes. So in the paranormal, in the paranormal world, vampires, wolves, or witches? What is your choice?
Demons.
Demons, okay.
Fighting vampires.
Witches fighting vampires. Okay. Coffee or tea? I think I know this answer.
The answer is
Tea.
obvious.
Tea.
Only
Okay.
tea. Only tea.
Okay.
Green tea.
Well, well, I was about to say
I'm
you'll
not
be happy when you come to.
Lviv writer.
I know. I was about to say you'll be happy when you come to England, but then you said green tea, which cancels that right away. But in England, it's every 5 minutes, like in England, like all the sad things you guys have said to me today. In England, someone would be like, "Oh, cup of tea, maybe cup of tea." Like it's the solution for absolutely everything. Dubbed films or originals with subtitles. So when you get in a film, do you prefer it dubbed, by a voice actor, or do you prefer to just keep it original and have the Ukrainian subtitles?
Dubbed.
Original?
Mm-hmm. I have a hard time with dubbed, so I watch a lot of foreign stuff on Netflix, and I have a hard time if the mouth is moving slightly differently than the sound. But I think we all remember growing up with like when the dubbing they would keep the original sound as well, and so you'd have like both. That was the worst. So as long as it's not that. So one A-lister you would cast in a film adaptation of your book. No one is off the table. You can name anybody. Who would it be?
Dylan O'Brien.
Oh, sexy. Yeah.
Because if we are talking about young adult, so Dylan O'Brien, of course.
I mean, he's like 34 now, but me and my co-author send each other like videos of him, and I'm just like, Dylan O'Brien with blonde hair, Dylan O'Brien doing this. And for you, Natalie?
So I'm taking Timothy Chalamet for me, but actually I would prefer anime based on my books. Yeah.
You'd prefer anime. Well, that I think that is much more doable than Timothy Chalamet, whose schedule is booked up for 10 years. He's too popular, booked up like 10 years in advance. But anime, I think, is very realistic. So name one YA author that you would like to have drinks with.
Jennifer Armentrout.
Okay.
Crystal Davos.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that one up. But Jennifer Almentrout now has a literature festival with open submissions, so that can be arranged. Favorite food to eat when you're on a crunch deadline and your book is due?
Chips and burgers.
Okay.
Okay.
And
very millennial.
What is it? Avocado toast? Or I didn't hear you.
Yeah. Yes,
that's what when you said very millennial. Okay, so yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. It's been a privilege to have you guys, and we're really excited to try and support your upcoming English work, as well as to I'm going to go on the internet and find Anastasia's English article, and whatever work you have in the future. We're also really excited to see. We want you guys to wishing you a lot of inspiring vibes and of course safety first and foremost, so please stay safe. And yeah, we just want to thank you for being part of Camp YA and camping with us, and now it's time to say our goodbyes, and we hope to see you in person when that is possible at Camp YA. So yeah, I'm gonna do the Korean thing. So yeah. All right guys, thank you so much, and bye to our campers.